residents. So I commend the bill to the House. Thank you.
Eugenie Sage.
Mr Speaker, thank you.
Tēnā koe.
The Green Party is pleased to support the Maritime Transport Amendment Bill to Select Committee and certainly support the provisions in the bill which will enable New Zealand to access much more financial compensation in the event of an oil spill up to $1.39 billion because, of course, Mr Speaker, New Zealand's one of only 5 OECD countries with a coastline, not including the United States, which hasn't acceded to the International Maritime Organisation's Supplementary Fund Protocol, which the IMO adopted more than 13 years ago in 2003. So this bill is overdue, Mr Speaker, and given that the oil tankers which operate around New Zealand generally carry between 55 and 100,000 tonnes of oil as cargo, and the advice that officials have provided is that a spill of between 10 to 20,000 tonnes, if it should ever happen, would easily exceed that $377 million compensation. But it's ironic, Mr Speaker, that the government is introducing this bill in the same week that the world's largest seismic testing vessel, the Amazon Warrior, has arrived in New Zealand waters to start seismic testing for oil along our eastern coast for the Norwegian company Statoil. And it's really disappointing that the government has ignored the huge opposition to this, and that when it is well known that we've got to keep oil in the ground to protect our climate, it is in fact allowed Statoil to take over Chevron's permit and then to have seismic testing with these big air guns blasting the marine environment from now through until May next year. So the government is really short-sighted in allowing that in the same week that we've got this bill. The other major concern that the Green Party has with the bill is the government's allowing through this bill foreign flagged vessels to carry cargo between New Zealand and our offshore islands like the Chatham Islands. And it shows an absolute lack of commitment to a thriving coastal shipping sector to force the New Zealand coastal shipping to compete with foreign flagged vessels. Finally, in Budget 2015, we got the government committing to investing $51 million in a new wharf on the Chatham Islands. That is long overdue, given the rusting metal and the concrete on the wharf at Waitangi. The Chathams needs a new wharf. But this bill, by allowing competition from foreign flagged vessels, will potentially be undermining the South East Shipping and the community-owned Chatham Islands Shipping and their ability to service the Chatham's wharf. Why, when they finally get a new wharf on the Chathams, is the government allowing foreign vessels to actually use that and undermine our own coastal shipping companies? And, Mr Speaker, that's likely because we know that there's overcapacity in the global shipping fleet, and that has resulted in what some commentators have called zombie ships. They offer out their services at rates that are just enough to cover the interest on the vessel. They don't cover the capital costs, and so they will be undercutting our own coastal vessels. We need a thriving coastal shipping sector. As the earthquake events in Kaikoura have shown, we need to use what Julian Genter called the Blue Highway to move freight around New Zealand, because transport greenhouse gas emissions are a major component of our climate emissions. We can reduce those if we invest in coastal shipping. But this bill and its provisions, which undermine the services to the Chathams, will potentially cut right across that. So we'll be very interested in submissions from the Shipping Federation, from our own coastal shipping services, and from people in the Chatham Islands and the council there, because it potentially cuts across that. The provisions around around drug and alcohol testing, given that each week I put my trust in the pilots in here New Zealand in often difficult conditions to land in Wellington Airport, assuming always that they are fully functioning, and I'm sure they are, and this bill is likely to help reduce the incidence of alcohol and drug impairment in people providing commercial transport services.
William Seal.
Mr. Speaker, may I join with others also to convey condolences and sympathies to those families who have lost loved ones as a result of the recent earthquake. My colleague Sue Moroney has indicated to the House that we're supporting this bill to the first reading, but she also gave a challenge to the Minister and this government about the need for us to look further abroad, a more comprehensive bill that covers broadly